Now, former New York State Assembly Speaker Shelley Silver arraigned today on federal corruption charges in Manhattan federal court. Silver, he's pleading not guilty in that case, and as you know, is accused of orchestrating two schemes, which authorities say allowed him to earn in excess of $4 million in payoffs and kickbacks over the past 15 years. Silver is facing charges including extortion, mail fraud, and wire fraud, each carrying a maximum sentence, of 20 years in prison. Today, Silver's attorneys accused U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara of being a press-hungry prosecutor. They also say the media frenzy surrounding Silver has ruined any chances of a fair trial. And former Moreland Commissioner, co-chair Bill Fitzpatrick, himself a district attorney upstate New York, he's speaking out about Shelley Silver. Fitzpatrick says that Silver's arrest on federal corruption charges didn't come as a surprise to him. Again, the co-chair of then the Moreland Commission, Fitzpatrick saying, myself and co-chair Milt Williams, we met with the U.S. Attorney in April of 2014 and turned over our investigative files to him. So when Bharara said, stay tuned, we knew what he was talking about. He also did say, to be clear, that he didn't have any evidence at the time that they knew that Shelley Silver had connections with this, but nonetheless, he said he wasn't surprised. Now, where's the pulse of the New York electorate when it comes to corruption in Albany? New Siena College poll here shows that the vast majority of New Yorkers believe that corruption is a very serious problem. And in addition to that 92%, 58% of voters also believe that the legislature should be kept part-time as long as lawmakers have to publicly disclose their outside income. 40% of voters say there should be a full-time legislature where outside employment is banned. And finally, one more number. 51% say the Governor Cuomo's ethics reform package could be helpful, while a little less than that say they believe the package would not have any real impact. All right, let's go to Moreland here. And you take any significance from the co-chair saying he wasn't surprised at all that the speaker ended up getting indicted?
Yeah, I'm a bit stunned because it leads to the question, what else does he know?
Right.
And how many other people are there? And what did the Moreland Act? And if, in fact, there appeared to be improprieties or illegal action, why didn't he say something when Cuomo disbanded it?
Or did he?
Or did he?
Yeah.
I mean, it raises a whole host of questions why he would say that.
Just step back from the inside baseball of this for a second. And Scott, if you got the co-chair of a commission that was appointed to try and root out corruption in Albany saying, oh yeah, I could have told you a year ago, I wouldn't have been surprised if one of the three men in the room was indicted, and they didn't ask him about the other ones, who knows what he would have said. What does that tell you? And then it does beg the question, the governor that you guys and we all know here, who hardly is a hands-off guy, did he really think when he pulled the plug on the commission that, again, without being too cynical here, that he might have asked, by the way, what'd you guys find?
It begs all those questions, Richard, and the statements today, as Scott points out, are surprising because it begs all that question.
All right, now I'm going to ask, and you don't have to put names to it, but we're all hearing different scuttlebutts, and sometimes I'm hearing competing rumors giving totally opposite things. Let's start in the halls of Albany. How nervous are folks that there's going to be a lot more shoes to fall?
And that is actually a real problem because everybody's nervous, and everybody's nervous because you're starting to, while dealing with real corruption issues, criminalize an occupation.
Yep.
You're starting to create this sense among the general public that everybody in government is corrupt. And frankly, I can speak for a lot of the folks, all the folks that we represent, and a lot of the folks I know. Everybody's working real hard. It's not easy making $79,000 a year, commuting up to Albany, commuting back, leaving your family at home. This isn't some glamorous
Nobody
job.
wants to hear it, but the dirty secret is either you pay him like a full-time job, if you don't want him to have a second job, or you really expect them only to work part-time.
It's 17 years since these folks have gotten a raise. 17 years.
It'll never get through, but that's the reality.
Give me another occupation. Now, that doesn't excuse any of the issues around real corruption, but quid pro quo is quid pro quo. The
Scott,
relationships alone are not
But
enough.
you said they make $79,000 part-time, a lot of hard work. If it's so hard and so demanding, why take the job?
They all have a right to earn second incomes, and now what you're doing is beginning to criminalize the second income. That is the conditions they came into the job with. So now if you're a lawyer,
criminalize themselves.
if you're a lawyer and you're doing nothing wrong, now you're taking on clients, all of a sudden you have to disclose those clients.
Okay,
Guess who I'm not hiring for my
Scott,
lawyer.
But with all due respect, but With many of these lawmakers that are also lawyers, why would anybody in their right mind hire them as lawyers? Come on, you're paying for access. You're paying to get them to get something done. You're not hiring them for lawyers.
It's a legitimate question, though, to say if somebody's working really hard, like we just said they were, 4 times, half the time they're not in the office, they're commuting back and forth, that how possibly are they going to be doing a lot of casework for you? You're getting access, you're getting influence when you hire a foreman.
One of our clients runs this issue for me all the time because he's an actual practicing attorney who does really appear in court and writes briefs and makes this argument. I could show you my work product. And for me, that marginalizes what it means to be a lawyer. I'm not a member of the bar, but to suggest that you can only truly be a lawyer if you're writing briefs is it?
No, but you and I both know. You're not going to go to somebody and hire them unless...
Crime. I don't know who said it's got to believe it. It's not a crime to be a rainmaker in and of itself. If you're buying access with that money, it is.
I don't blame the guy. If I did it, I'd do the same thing. But my point is, let's just put it up on the table. The way it was designed originally when the legislature was created was it was a 2 to maximum 3-day-a-week job. Now they got to work 4 days. That doesn't count the fundraising I got to do in constituency services when they're back home in district. That doesn't count the schlepping back and forth that they got to do. God forbid they get an apartment over there. That's also coming out of their pocket. What do you think they're going to do for a second job? And we've covered this before. I mean, it's not politically popular, so it's probably not going to happen. But if you don't let them have a second job, who do you think is going to take the job? You know, I guess that's my only point.
Only rich people.
Right. Or only somebody that, you know, had no other options.
How much money is enough to pay them full time to stop
You look
corruption?
at other legislatures. I mean, I'm not, here I am. I'm sounding like I'm negotiating to try and get the Pedro Espadas of the world a raise here. But my point is, if you said 140 grand, okay? I know you're going to, the public would blanch at that or rewarding people that have gotten in trouble. But at the same end, you can't have it both ways. I criticize these guys as much as anybody. But either you expect them to work full time and you pay them as such, or you don't, and then you can't have the quid pro quo that they can't do something outside of it. I just don't see how we can be that half pregnant on this anymore. I don't know. It's a little cleaner the way they do it in Congress. Finally, Dom, I'm hearing things are getting pretty tense in the governor's office with this whole specter, the cloud. You know, maybe it's all anecdotal a little bit, but it's not just, you know, in the state Senate and the Assembly here where folks are walking on eggshells. It's there too.
Well, remember, in Albany, nobody knows who's wearing a wire. No one knows who the U.S. Attorney is looking at. We do know that Mr. Bahara and the governor don't get along with each other. And Richard, when you also, Governor Cuomo, what's the best way to say this, is a very hard person to get along with. So the give and take amongst his team, and you have to drink the Kool-Aid when you work for him. And so all of this stuff, you know, he's got his ethics reform package out there. We don't know how this is going to play, but it's just one big mess. That's the best way I can sum it up.
Well, and I think the key here is Larry Schwartz.
Right.
The key here is Larry Schwartz and what he did on behalf of the governor with the Moreland Commission and thereafter. That
and his job officially ends in March, next month there with the governor. It'd be interesting, not only where he ends up, but also what maybe questions will be asked as well here. I do think, one, we don't have time for, but it is fascinating. U.S. Attorney used to be hard to name who the U.S. Attorney, maybe not for you guys, the general public. Preet Bharara has changed all that. And to say he's taken the spotlight from the Attorney General in New York, I don't even think would be unfair as well. Okay. Got to lighten things up a little bit on the other side of the break. If it was your boss or your gym teacher or even your uncle, the touchy-feely way that Joe Biden's, well, just beating Biden, might cause a few problems, but not for Joe and not for some other bad boys either. So why do some people seem to get away with stuff while others don't? We'll talk about that on the other side of the break.